So, Elizabeth continued. I would like to talk about that. How did Elizabeth use the discourse of Petrarchism, the literary discourse of Petrarchism, to remain in power, if you like? So how is power, Elizabethan, the power of the Queen, related to the literary discourse of Petrarchism? And in order to do that, I would first of all turn to him, Edmund Spenser, who wrote a sonnet cycle, the Amoretti, and this is sonnet 61, which I would like to talk about at length. The main theme of this sonnet is that the lady is directly sent from heaven. You remember what I said about Plato, heaven, and the lady being the perfect form directly from heaven. She is so superior to the speaker that her pride is only natural. Okay, you can understand that she is proud because she's the direct image of the maker. To love her and to have intercourse with her, or whatever you would like to call it, would be too primitive. So you can only admire her from afar. And you see how this may relate to the Queen herself. And by the way, sometimes we cannot really tell whether the Spenserian sonnets are addressed to his mother, his wife, or his queen, all of them called Elizabeth. Anyway, here it is, and Edmund Spenser. The glorious image of the Maker's beauty, my sovereign saint, the idol of my thought. So this is directly an appellation of the Queen. This is how he describes her. She is the image of the Maker's beauty, God's image directly sent from heaven. She is the sovereign saint, which is, of course, directly sovereign, relating to the monarch, and she is the idol of my thought. An idol, of course, is a religious image. Okay, all right. So she is that, directly sent from heaven. Dare not henceforth above the bounds of duty to accuse of pride or rashly blame for aught. So don't, accuse her of pride, because this would be over the top, of course, and we may gather later on because her pride is completely justified. For being as she is, divinely wrought, she is made by God herself, or by God himself. She is made by God himself, of course. She is divinely wrought, divinely worked, and of the broods of angels heavenly born. The angels brought her up to heaven. And with a blessed crew of blessed saints she was brought up with the saints in heaven, each of which did her with her gifts adorn. She received a gift from all the saints, their favorite gifts. All right. And then he goes on. The bud of joy, the blossom of the morn, the beam of light whom mortal eyes admire. She is the bud of joy, she is the blossom of the morn, and she, most interestingly, the beam of light. God's fingers, some of this whom mortal eyes admire. So beam of light directly coming from heaven. You see how it is overfraught with religious imagery here. What reason is it then but she should scorn base things that to her love too bold aspire? So she scorns base things, and you may already gather, base things, that's the speaker himself, base things, base animals, and she scorns them that aspire to her love. How can she do any different? Because, she is directly angelic, coming from heaven. And then he goes, such heavenly forms ought rather worshipped be than dare be loved by men of mean degree. So a heavenly form, as she is, can only be worshipped. She cannot be loved by men of mean degree like the speaker himself, because the heavenly form, and this directly relates to Neoplatonism, the heavenly form, she is the perfect form. And all other ladies are just inferior copy of her. So she is not, you see, in in Platonic imagery, a copy of the perfect form. She is the perfect form herself, the heavenly form. Yeah, and she can only be worshipped from afar. Love is too base a sentiment to be applied to her. Yeah. Let me read it once again in its entirety, and pay attention. The phrasings which I have marked in red refer to the speaker himself, okay, and those in bold type, of course, to the lady. So, the glorious image of the Maker's beauty, my sovereign saint, the idol of my thought, dare not henceforth above the bounds of duty to accuse of pride or rashly blame for aught. For being as she is, divinely wrought, and of the brood of angels heavenly born, and with a crew of blessed saints upbroad, each of which did her with her gifts adorn. The bud of joy, the blossom of the morn, the beam of light, whom mortal eyes admire. What reason is it then but she should scorn base things that to her love too bold aspire? Such heavenly forms ought rather worshipped be than their beloved by men of mean degree. Yeah. Once again, yeah, mortal eyes, directly the eyes of the likes of the speaker. She's immortal, comes from heaven, goddess, angel, something like that. So is that clear? This would be Petrarchism, and the most important aspect of Renaissance Petrarchism, or one of the most important, is that the lady remains a virgin, of course. Only then she may, of course, be addressed as heavenly form or something like this, unspoiled, untainted. I mean, a virgin queen. And Elizabeth was, of course, the virgin queen. And love is not consummated in these Petrarchist poems. She derives her perfection by staying a virgin. All right. Okay. So, and this discourse, Elizabeth fulfilled all the preconditions for this discourse to be applied to her. She's the word virgin queen. Okay. And her beauty, and she stands out. So she appropriated the Petrarchist discourse to herself, and courtiers had to address and treat her like a Petrarchan lady. And this is what I want to show you here, particularly with these three, the Queen's main favourites, the Earl of Leicester, Sir Walter Raleigh, and the last one here, the Earl of Essex. Okay, and we all have, I mean, writings by those three favourite courtiers which sound like a Petrarchist poem. Here it is. Robert Devereux, Earl of Essex, I mean, remember the one whom she had executed later on, but for a long time her favourite, after Raleigh fell in disgrace and Leicester had died. Most dear lady, your kind and often sending is able either to preserve a sick man, or rather to raise a man that were more than half dead to life again. Since I was first so happy as to know what love meant, I was never one day nor 1 hour free from hope and jealousy, and as long as you do me right, they are the inseparable companions of my life. If your majesty do in the sweetness of your own heart nourish the one, and in the justness of love free me from the tyranny of the other, you shall ever make me happy and increase the worth which is thought to be in you more by this one mean than by all other excellent perfections. And so, wishing your majesty to be mistress of that you wish most, I humbly kiss your fair hands, your servant in love and duty before all men, Robert Essex. And you see, I mean, the imagery he uses here, that he is jealous, that he is in love with her, that he is admiring, that he can't stop thinking of her, admiring from afar. She is a goddess like. I mean, this is all indebted to Petrarchism, anyway, to Horace too, but this later. Yeah. So, the most important precondition for the Petrarchist discourse was that Elizabeth remained a virgin until her dying day. And if she hadn't remained a virgin, I mean, her husband, certainly would have become her head. You remember the discourse, yeah, that her husbands, of course, are the heads of their wives. And just imagine if she had married Prince Philip, Spain, then, of course, the two kingdoms would have been united. Imagine that, Spain and England united under Spanish rule, more or less. The Armada wouldn't probably have come, okay, and the world language would certainly be not English today, most certainly Spanish, as it to some extent is, of course, but it would have, of course, English would have played a very inferior role. Nothing to what it is today. Okay, so, her, of course, not being married, is she always referred to her kingdom, that she is married to her subjects, of course, and therefore she cannot marry one of her innumerous suitors, particularly from France and Spain, who always wanted to marry her and, of course, inherit the kingdom in this respect. Remember, the husband would have been, the kingdom would automatically, husband would have automatically become King of England. And so she never married and remained a virgin, which once again is the precondition for the Petrarchist discourse to be applied to her. Yeah, once again, the angelic figure coming directly from heaven. Men are just too inferior to approach her. They can only admire her from afar, okay, because they are so far below that they don't even dare, gainsay her or something like this, because this is completely off limits. Okay, we will take it from here by talking about this thing here, the rainbow portrait, which in a way is the portrait which symbolizes all that. So stay tuned. This is going to be the next episode, if you like.